and welcome to Finextra's Financial Cloud Summit. I'm Hannah Wallace, and with me now in the studio is Ainsley Ward from CGI. Ainsley, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Likewise, yeah, thank you.
Really good to have you on. I know you've been busy at the event, speaking on a panel as well, and I know you've been having some important discussions at this year's event around PSD3, which is upcoming. So I want to start there because most people talking about PSD3 will be focusing on open banking and payments initiation, but I know you've got some thoughts about the public cloud and why that should be part of the conversation. So let's start there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're sitting in this period ahead of the draft legislation, which was due any time now, but certainly we're waiting for it to come out, and I'm sure there's a long queue of people trying to get hold of that in Brussels. Mm-hmm. But why PSD3 is going to be particularly important and why the cloud should be included is that we saw some transitions in PSD2. So we saw there the appointment of EBA as the ability to define technical regulations. So initially there was only the draft clauses around access to accounts, which became open banking. SCA, which was the secure customer authentication, which we're having many struggles with it putting out place. Yep. And they put together some guidelines and kind of took us through that. But what it also did, it also highlighted a lot of problems in market as people started to try and implement those guidelines. Mm-hmm. It highlighted the fact that we had a lot of technical debt in a number of our banks, and that they weren't able to get there, which is why we still have low percentages of banks able to do open banking. Now we put it into the regulation that you've got to start going towards newer technologies such as cloud. It provides the sort of meat for those banks to go and take advantage of those banks because it's of those technologies, mm-hmm. because it's actually sort of baked into the regulation and it opens up whole new sets of budget. So we found that 96% of C-level within banks realised that the state of their legacy is holding back a lot of their digitisation. So we need the regulation to sort of drive the transformational technologies need to be put in place. I mean, digitization today really is like trying to build a Tesla on the original Ford production line. It's not really possible. Yeah. So we're hoping that PSD3 will help us with that transformation.
And is the answer just putting everything on the cloud? And that's some of the questions that people have been asking.
No, absolutely not. You have to do sort of proper assessments and work out what's fit for purpose in the cloud. I mean, well, the way I see it, a lot of the purpose of cloud is about the journey. So I always think of the poem Ithaca, where it's really about the experience you go through on the journey rather than the destination itself. So the fact that you're putting in lean process, the fact you're adopting agile, the fact that you're moving towards DevOps and putting those things in place, you're doing application rationalization. So we have a client in Canada that went through that cloud migration process and they got rid of over 200 applications from their infrastructure. Imagine how much leaner your organization would be, how much lower your cost base would be if you've got rid of 200 applications. Makes it much more manageable, makes it much more resilient.
And DORA is going to be one of the responses to those challenges as well, isn't it? So do you think that's going to be able to solve everything?
DORA on its own won't solve everything, which is why we have multi-layered regulatory environment. DORA is focused on operational resiliency and removing risk from operations. What PSD3 should be doing is looking at from a security perspective and from a data perspective. So really the regulations that come along with the changes to PSD3 should be setting minimum security standards so that we have a sort of a benchmark to know that we're doing things in a good enough manner. And of course it should encourage to go far beyond that.
All right, so taking all of that into account then, do you think PSD3 needs to look at client data then going forward?
Yeah, absolutely, and that minimum security standard really needs to look at how best to use the infrastructure within the cloud, which we know can provide sort of 6-layer security, so it can be encrypted absolutely all the way through the infrastructure. And we should be actively encouraging that, moving away from technologies where security is difficult or bolted on to technologies where security really is baked in.
Sure. Well, Ainsley, this has been a really interesting topic. I'm sure you've shared your view with some of the delegates at this year's event as well, and thank you for sharing them with me. But look forward to speaking further down the line, hopefully at Sivos in Toronto. But until then, thank you very much.
Thank you.